Why does it seem like everyone is starting to switch over to Linux? And the short answer to that is Windows.
So you're sick of Windows, you've reached the end of your tether, as it were, you're pissed off with Microsoft, you don't want to use Mac, you want to try and make the transition over to Linux. You've seen people having a good time.
Actually might be the year of the Linux desktop. Microsoft is plugging more holes that let you use Windows 11 without an online account.
Bill Gates built one of the most dominant technology empires in human history. But right now, 5 Linux distributions are doing what decades of competitors couldn't. And they're doing it at a speed that has the entire industry paying attention. Over 500,000 users have already made the switch away from Windows 11, driven out by forced obsolescence, relentless updates they never asked for, and privacy concerns that quietly crossed a line for too many people. The remarkable part isn't just that they left, it's that they're not coming back. Linux, long dismissed as a niche operating system for developers and enthusiasts willing to wrestle with command lines, has quietly transformed into something polished, fast, and genuinely capable of making Windows look like the more frustrating option. Microsoft's grip on the everyday computer user is loosening in real time, and the platform doing the loosening is completely free to download.
But it does seem to me like more and more people are starting to switch over to Linux. I know personally, I have people in my own Discord who have switched over to Linux and they swear by it and they love it. I also know that Gamers Nexus is starting to incorporate Linux benchmarks in his hardware reviews. I know Jay's 2 Cents has done multiple different Linux PC related builds and projects this year.
Something has shifted in the way Windows users are responding to the frustrations that have been building for years. They're not writing complaint threads or filing feedback forms. They're opening their laptops, downloading a free operating system, and walking away from Windows without looking back. The migration numbers surfacing right now are not what anyone in Redmond would want to be reading. These aren't early adopters or tech enthusiasts making a philosophical statement about open source software. These are everyday users who simply reached a breaking point and discovered that a genuinely viable alternative had been waiting for them all along. And once someone makes that switch and realizes how smoothly it goes, the conversation about returning to Windows tends to end very quickly.
Let's start with the hardware. And this is not really a thing in Linux, as it runs on virtually any hardware. If you're running Windows now, odds are pretty darn good that Linux will work for you. So no need to spend money on new hardware, and of course, the software is free as well.
Anyone still writing this off as a fantasy circulating in niche Linux forums needs to look at what is actually happening on the ground right now. Germany moved 30,000 government workers off Windows in a single coordinated migration. Zorin OS recorded 1 million downloads in a single month. Steam's Linux player base continues to grow with each new report. This is a real, measurable, accelerating shift in the operating system landscape, and the 5 distributions leading it are not the rough, intimidating, command-line-heavy systems that gave Linux its complicated reputation. They are refined, intuitive, privacy-respecting, and increasingly difficult to distinguish from a premium commercial product. Microsoft didn't lose ground to a better-funded rival or a flashier newcomer. It handed Linux this opening through a series of decisions that left millions of loyal users feeling like they had no other choice.
Microsoft confirmed no more security patches, no more bug fixes, no more updates of any kind. You guys, ransomware groups specifically target end-of-life operating systems because they know nobody's fixing the holes.
The breaking point for a massive wave of users arrived in October 2025. When Windows 10 officially reached end of support, Microsoft communicated the transition with all the warmth of a legal notice. Users could upgrade to Windows 11, pay for extended security updates that would themselves expire in October 2026, or accept that their machines were now running an unprotected and formally abandoned operating system. There was no flexibility, no grace period, no acknowledgement of the position this put people in. The message was simple: move forward on Microsoft's terms, or get left behind. Millions of users who had never seriously considered Linux before started reading about Windows 11's requirements in detail for the first time. What they found sent the Linux forums into overdrive.
If you're still on Windows 10, you have 2 options. Upgrade to Windows 11 for free if your PC supports it and enjoy all of the bugs and issues that are coming with that. Or if your PC doesn't qualify, Microsoft is selling extended security updates for $30 a year. The fact that Microsoft ended support for an operating system that hundreds of millions of people still use and then charged them extra for security is genuinely one of the most predatory things a tech company has done in a very long time.
Windows 11 requires a TPM 2.0 chip, a specific piece of hardware that the majority of machines built before 2018 simply don't have. On paper, that sounds like a reasonable technical threshold. In practice, it meant that computers running Intel i7 processors with 32 gigabytes of RAM, machines actively being used for video editing, gaming, software development, and demanding professional workloads every single day, were officially declared incompatible with the new operating system, not because they were underpowered, not because they were malfunctioning or struggling to keep up. They were declared incompatible because they were missing one specific chip that Microsoft had decided, unilaterally, was now mandatory for anyone who wanted to stay current. The machines worked perfectly. Microsoft's requirements said otherwise.
Windows 11 was the operating system that no one asked for, and quite honestly, no one really wants.
400 million devices were pushed into obsolescence overnight, not by age or deteriorating performance, but by a corporate policy decision. Users were presented with two paths forward: spend hundreds of dollars replacing hardware that was still functioning without issue, or remain on an unsupported operating system and accept whatever security risks came with that choice. Linux quietly offered a third option that Microsoft had never wanted those users to find. Free to download, capable of running on the hardware Microsoft had just declared dead, and increasingly easy to set up without any technical background whatsoever. For hundreds of millions of people holding perfectly good computers and facing an unnecessary hardware bill, that third option suddenly looked less like a compromise and more like the only sensible answer in the room.
It was called Windows 11 because that's how many core issues it had, such as high system requirements, 2 settings apps, pre-installing apps you can't use, online-only installation, ads in the installation, ads in the start menu, ads in the file explorer, pop-up ads for Bing, Edge, spyware,